35 of your chant book. It is Genjo Koan, the way of everyday life. When all dharmas are Buddha Dharma, there are enlightenment and delusion, practice, life and death, Buddhas and creatures. When the 10,000 dharmas are without self, there are no delusions, no enlightenment, no Buddhas, no creatures, no life and no death. The Buddha way transcends being and non-being. Therefore, there are life and death, delusion and enlightenment, creatures and Buddhas. Nevertheless, flowers fall with our attachment and weeds spring up with our aversion. To carry the self forward and realize the 10,000 dharmas is delusion. That the 10,000 dharmas advance and realize the self is enlightenment. It is Buddhas who enlighten delusion. It is creatures who are deluded in enlightenment. Further, there are those who attain enlightenment above enlightenment. There are those who are deluded within delusion. When Buddhas are truly Buddhas, one need not be aware of being Buddha. However, one is the realized Buddha and further advances in realizing Buddha, seeing forms with the whole body and mind, hearing sounds with the whole body and mind, one understands them intimately. Yet it is not like a mirror with reflections, nor like water under the moon. When one side is realized, the other side is dark. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by the 10,000 dharmas. To be enlightened by the 10,000 dharmas is to free one's body and mind and those of others. No trace of enlightenment remains, and this traceless enlightenment is continued forever. When one first seeks the truth, one separates oneself from it. When one has already correctly transmitted the truth to oneself, one is one's original self at that moment. When riding on a boat, if one watches the shore, one may assume that the shore is moving. But watching the boat directly, one knows that it is the boat that moves. If one examines the 10,000 dharmas with a deluded body and mind, one will suppose that one's mind and nature are permanent. But if one practices intimately and returns to the true self, it will be clear that the 10,000 dharmas are without self. Firewood turns into ash and does not turn into firewood again, but do not suppose that the ash is after and the firewood is before. We must realize that firewood is in the state of being firewood and has its before and after, yet having this before and after, it is independent of them. Ash is in the state of being ash and has its before and after. Just as firewood does not become firewood again after it is ash, so after one's death, one does not return to life again. Thus, that life does not become death is a confirmed teaching of the Buddha Dharma. For this reason, life is called the non-born. That death does not become life is a confirmed teaching of the Buddha Dharma. Therefore, death is called the non-extinguished. Life is a period of itself. Death is a period of itself. For example, they are like winter and spring. We do not think that winter becomes spring, nor do we say that spring becomes summer. Gaining enlightenment is like the moon reflecting in the water. The moon does not get wet, nor is the water disturbed. Although its light is extensive and great, the moon is reflected even in a puddle an inch across. The whole moon and the whole sky are reflected in the dewdrops in the grass in one drop of water. Enlightenment does not disturb the person, just as the moon does not disturb the water. A person does not hinder enlightenment, just as a dewdrop does not hinder the moon in the sky. The depth of the drop is the height of the moon. As for the duration of the reflection, you should examine the water's vastness or smallness, and you should discern the brightness or dimness of the heavenly moon. When the truth does not fill our body and mind, we think that we have enough. When the truth fills our body and mind, we realize that something is missing. For example, when we view the four directions from a boat on the ocean where no land is in sight, we see only a circle and nothing else. No other aspects are apparent. However, this ocean is neither round nor square, and its qualities are infinite in variety. It is like a palace. It is like a jewel. It just seems circular as far as our eyes can reach at the time. The 10,000 dharmas are likewise like this. Although ordinary life and enlightened life assume many aspects, we only recognize and understand through practice what the penetrating power of our vision can reach. In order to appreciate the 10,000 dharmas, we should know that although they may look around or square, the other qualities of oceans and mountains are infinite in variety. Furthermore, other universes lie in all quarters. It is so not only around ourselves, but also right here and in a single drop of water. When a fish swims in the ocean, there is no limit to the water, no matter how far it swims. When a bird flies in the sky, there is no limit to the air, no matter how far it flies. However, no fish or bird has ever left its element since the beginning. When the need is large, it is used largely. When the need is small, it is used in a small way. Thus, no creature ever comes short of its own completeness. Wherever it stands, it does not fail to cover the ground. If a bird leaves the air, it will die at once. If a fish leaves the water, it will die at once. Know then that water is life. Know that air is life. Life is the bird and life is the fish. Beyond these, there are further implications and ramifications. In this way, there are practice and enlightenment, mortality and immortality. Now, if a bird or a fish tries to reach the limit of its element before moving in it, this bird or this fish will not find its way or its place. Attaining this place, one's daily life is the realization of ultimate reality. Attaining this way, one's daily life is the realization of ultimate reality. Since this place and this way are neither large nor small, neither self nor other, neither existing previously nor just arising now, they therefore exist thus. Thus, if one practices and realizes the Buddha way, when one gains one Dharma, one penetrates one Dharma. When one encounters one action, one practices one action. Since the place is here and the way leads everywhere, the reason the limits of the knowable and unknowable is simply that our knowledge arises with and practices with the absolute perfection of the Buddha Dharma. Do not practice thinking that realization must become the object of one's knowledge and vision and be grasped conceptually. Even though the attainment of realization is immediately manifest, its intimate nature is not necessarily realized. Some may realize it and some may not. priest Baochu of Magu Mountain was fanning himself, a monk approached and asked, "Sir, the nature of the wind is permanent, and there is no place it does not reach. Why then must you still fan yourself? Although you understand that the nature of wind is permanent," the master replied, "you do not understand the meaning of its reaching everywhere." "What is the meaning of its reaching everywhere?" asked the monk. The master just fanned himself. The monk bowed with deep respect. This is the enlightened experience of Buddha Dharma and the vital way its correct transmission. Those who say we should not use a fan because wind is permanent, and so we should know the existence of wind without using a fan, know neither permanency nor the nature of wind. Because the nature of wind is eternally present, the wind of Buddhism actualizes the gold of the earth and ripens the cheese of the long river.
This time I'd like to invite the incense lighters to come up to the altar. And good morning, Sangha. Please join me in the insight lining Gatha on page 2 of the chant books. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly rising. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. And we bow. Morning, Sangha. My name is Upaya, and I'm a Dharma teacher intern here at the temple. So first, let's do some courtesy announcements. So we have a community room downstairs, so if anybody needs a break or children with small families, feel free to go downstairs. There's a bathroom downstairs, there's water. Up here, there's 2 bathrooms, and there's water in front as well. So just a reminder that if you do need to get up and walk around, please walk around the back of the hall and not in front. This is to try to keep this the creation of a sacred space, as well as not to interrupt the video feed. So a reminder that when we do our chants, joy is one of the teachings of the Buddhas. So let's see how much joy we can put into our chants today. So with that, let's stand and greet each other with a bow. We'll start service with the three refuge, and that is on page 3 of your chapter.
I go to the refuge of Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the main source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go to the refuge of Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go to the refuge of Sangha, a loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. When I'm aware that the three jewels are within my heart, I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning, and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. When I'm aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings, I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And we bow.
Now turn the page, reciting the Heart Sutra on page 4.
From the deep practice of prajna, paramita, receive the emptiness of all 5 skandhas, and deliver all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, war is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight, no realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no laws of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any elusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharma, the radiant fearless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita, gate, gate, aragate, arasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, aragate, arasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, aragate, arasangate, bodhisattva. And we bow. You can sit, sucker. So my last Dharma talk, I talked about different kinds of anger. So I'm going to continue that talk. This is like part 2 of the talk today. So last time I talked about things like flashes of anger and personal resentment and even personal hatred. So who's been angry this week? Who's been angry today? Yeah. Yes, there's another kind of anger, and that's righteous anger. And in some ways, this is the most dangerous kind. So I'd like to talk about this a bit. So, some teachings on emotions. Emotions come and go, usually within 90 seconds, unless we feed them with a narrative. And the stronger we feed, the more we feed the narratives, and the more they feel justified, and the stronger it can grow. So experiencing anger is neutral. I mean, it's just another emotion. But the way that we process it and act on it, and the way it influences our thoughts and actions, and the way we interact with other people, that's where the problems start to arise.
So, what's righteous anger? Well, righteous anger is justified. We feel that our anger is justified by the way somebody is behaving, or they're talking, or they're speaking, or the things that they have done. It feels good, it feels right, and it feels justified, and it feels good. So, this can happen at a personal level or at a group level, to the point that it can galvanize whole peoples and whole nations to do things. So I'll confess that I was grown up. When I grew up, I was taught to hate a group of people on my mother's knee. Now, being a white kid growing up in a straight white family, you may have some ideas of how that group of people might be. It's okay, I don't mind. That's my karma to bear. But I ask you to look a little further afield. So I'll give you a hint. My heritage is Eastern European. My grandmother was from Prussia, which is Eastern Germany. My grandfather was Poland, and my father's side of the family is all Slovak. Would you care to update your guess? So the group of people that the hatred that I was fed along with my mother's milk was for the Russians. Oh yes. And it wasn't just the political Cold War thing. Oh no, this was personal. We had family that we kept in touch with that lived in Slovakia under 40 years of Russian oppression and terror, waiting for that knock on the door at the night, wondering which of your relatives is reporting you to the secret police. And we did keep in touch. My great uncle John, Bulwark, who landed on the beaches of Normandy and fought his way to Italy, he would go and spend his retirement traveling to Slovakia and visit family. A little town called Smolenic, about 45 minutes north of Bratislava, is where family's from. And he would visit him every couple of years and bring a wad of American bills to help them out. And sometimes they would come. So after they retired, the government had no further use for them, so that they would let the people travel. And one of which was my great aunt Silka, was a school teacher. She would come over, and when she first got here, she'd be constantly looking around, especially to anybody who looked Eastern European, thinking that they might be associated with the secret police who have come to America to keep tabs on her. And so that was 40 years of that. So that's how I was brought up. Hate the Russians, and along with the Russians, anybody who shared that particular ideology fell in the same group. So after college, I was going to do my bit to fight off Ivan, so I joined the defense industry, and I worked there for a few years. And that's where my indoctrination into the national security mindset was complete. So I left there after a few years. After the Cold War ended, I figured that, wow, the military spending would decrease and they would defund all these things. Yeah, you're right. It didn't turn out that way. I'll chalk that up to youthful naivety. Well, yeah, I took a different path out of that because something told me that was not how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. So I chose a different path of engineering and technology, doing more helpful things than designing swarms of AI drone killbots, which is probably what I would be doing now if I hadn't chose a different path. So where does this righteous anger come from, and how do you get past it? Well, Thich Nhat Hanh spent a majority of his life engaged Buddhism and really digging into what are the sources of this and how does it create it. And it really comes to, what you found out is, it really comes down to collective ego and attachment to views. Attachment to views to the point that you know, attachment avoids the point that it justifies hate and it justifies violence. Now, he grew up in the middle of the Vietnam War from the other side, lotus in a sea of fire. So that's part of it. And what he also found, what he also taught, was that, well, righteous anger can be motivating, right? You see something terrible happen, people doing terrible things, and it's motivation to go and to fix it. Well, what I'd suggest, though, and what the teachings say, is that whatever energy you're picking up from anger is better used, put to compassion. So if you can take that energy of that righteous anger, let go of the storyline, you can take that energy and use it for compassion because, and there's a couple quotes here, one of which is from the Dhammapada. Let me find my quotes. Hatred never ends through hatred. By non-hatred alone does it end. This is an ancient truth. That's Dhammapada 5, and it was written like 2,000 years ago, right? Another one is, but on the other side of that is, so happily we live without hate among those with hate. Among people who hate, we live without hate. So embracing hatred and righteous anger is like picking up like a burning log from the fire. But the first person you injure, before you beat somebody with that log, the first person you injure is yourself. Say, well, righteous anger is different than regular anger. That, only in certain situations am I going to experience anger and then act on it. Well, you can't really compartmentalize it like that. If you begin to act on that and use that anger as a motivation, that becomes, you're laying in grooves, you're laying in habits, you're laying in karma, propensity that then the next time something happens, anger is when you go to. So it's very difficult to try to compartmentalize that. So there's a few more extended quotes from Plum Village mindfulness trainings. The one I'd like to read to you is this one. It's the 12th mindfulness training, Reverence for Life. Aware that much suffering is caused by war and conflict, we are determined to cultivate nonviolence, compassion, and the insight of into being in our daily lives, and promote peace education, mindfulness meditation, and reconciliation within families, communities, ethnic and religious groups, nations, and in the world. Because the fixed view that drives so much violence, the poison ground that produces the poison fruit, is the belief that some lives are more important than others. The national security mindset. Our nation is important, more important than other nations, which leads as a wellspring to unimagined horror. Not just here, everywhere. Right. This belief, the difference between self and other, the belief that some lives are more important than others. And I'll confess that it's very hard to overcome those beliefs. That until I came to the Dharma, and still now, if I'm not paying attention, national security mindset is I read the news is the first thing that comes to me. And I have to let that go. Whenever I notice that happens, I'm like, this is not the Dharma. This is not the way of the Bodhisattva. You are using old patterns. So how do you find your way out of this? Well, the way out of it is the commitment to the Dharma and specifically to the Bodhisattva path. So there's another quote here that for when a building is ablaze and flames leap out from house to house, the wise course is to take and fling away the straw and anything that spreads the fire. In fear that merit may all be consumed, we should at once cast far away our mind's attachments, tinder for the fiery flames of hatred. That really means is that this kind of righteous anger is contagious. That if you don't stop it in yourself and choose another path, it will propagate. And the other quote really is the way the Bodhisattva path is to realize that there is little, no difference between self and other, that all lives, everyone, lives are not more important than others. And we have the shared humanity, and to really look at it and to really own that and to really keep that front of mind whenever this arises. To focus on the shared humanity of you people who you dislike or feel justified in their anger and their hate. Still have that shared humanity, or in the Dharma I'm, that shared Buddha nature, the capacity for change, the capacity for awakening. So, let's see. Do I still hate the Russians? No, not really. Is it their fault? And how do I climb down from that? Well, it's really thinking of all the causes and conditions that cruel and oppressive governments, 300-400 years of history. And you read the Russian literature, read Dostoevsky, read Tolstoy. I mean, this is not new. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. And the same kind of cruelty and oppression that they inflict on themselves, they inflict on others. So it's not one person, not one system. It goes by different names at different times. And to see that they are locked into a cycle of violence and oppression, really, which harms themselves as well as others. So do I hate the Russians anymore? No. I do feel compassion for them and for the people that they're hurting, and for just the system that they're suffering under, which seems like it'll be hard for them to break out of and hard for them to heal from. But there is always hope because of shunyata, emptiness. Nothing is permanent. Never thought the Soviet Union would fall, and that opened a window of possibility, which then closed. Nothing is permanent. Everything changes. So, if you find yourself motivated and energized by this kind of righteous anger and hatred, however well justified, take a pause and see if you can use that energy for compassion instead. So as you prepare yourself for meditation today, take a moment and think of when you have thought of this recently and when you've experienced this recently, and see if you can hold that in your mind and then let it go. As you prepare yourself for meditation, first, take your seat. Feel the earth supporting you, your connection with the earth, the cushion, the chair. Next, feel yourself sitting upright in a balanced position with the head over the spine over the hips, swaying a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, forwards and back until you find that position of balance. Let the head, the chin drop a little, and then think to yourself, breathing in, I experience myself breathing in. Breathing out, I experience myself bringing out. breathing out. If your mind wanders and you catch it, be happy. Don't be upset, because that's a moment of awakening, that you woke up in a little moment to realize your mind has wandered and then bring it back to the breath. So this is a time that we ask the Sangha to share joys and concerns of daily life, things that have happened in the last week or two, things that you're concerned about, or good things that happened you'd like to share. So there'll be a mic going around. Who wants to go first?
I have a joy and a little sadness. This morning, like a lot of mornings, we're here with our friend James, who brought us to the temple for the first time over a year ago now, and who we've had a lot of really lovely times with over many years. And this is going to be our last time here with him for a while, since he's moving to Oregon. And I'm so happy for him, and he deserves everything good that's coming to him. But we're going to miss him a lot. And I love you, James.
Hi, I'm James. Yeah, this time, 7 days from now, I guess, yeah, probably this time next week, I'll be driving to Oregon to pursue my MFA in poetry. And yeah, I'm excited and scared and sad, but mostly excited. But I would just like to say thank you to everyone here. This has been my home Sunday mornings for the last 3 years. It's been a place of beautiful community and growth and acceptance, and a place I believe is truly radical. So keep doing it. Keep coming back. I hope to come back soon, or eventually.
I'm Shanta Dirty Bava. I have a joy and a concern. I'll start with a concern. So last week when I was here, I talked about my old dog and how I had a feeling we'd have to make a decision soon. And we had to make a decision 2 days later. It came very fast, and it was on my birthday. And her kidneys got to a point of no return, and she had a severe pancreatitis flare, and she just wasn't going to recover. So we spent 13 beautiful years together, and my joy is that I'm grateful for that time that I had with her. And I'm also grateful that I had already asked for some time off of work just because it was my birthday and I didn't want to be at work. So I got to spend her last days with her and not working, just be at home, do things that she enjoyed as much as she was able to. And the day after, I received flowers from work, and work gave me an extra day of bereavement. And when I went back to work, I was just overwhelmed with the amount of love and support that I had from my coworkers and management and everybody. So that is my joy out of this situation.
Good morning. My name is Nasan Skara. This week was a challenging week for me at work. I work closely with one other person. We share an office, and her and I kind of run the whole show, and it's a lot. We really need a third person. But this week, or this past week, she went on vacation, and so it became the need for a third person down to 2 people, down to 1 person. And So, you know, I was at work at 6 a.m. and eating lunch at my desk and leaving at 7 or 8 at night every day. And it was a lot. It was really challenging. So it was difficult. It was kind of a management and anxiety. Really, it's not the work so much, but just like the that you have to manage. And as long as I could maintain that, which I was able to, thankfully, then everything was okay. And everyone at work said how calm and peaceful my office was. So it was very good. Towards the end of the week, Thursday or Friday, my coworker texted me, many thanks. Thank you so much for, I needed this week off. I spent time with family up north at a cabin all week. It's been peaceful and wonderful, and thank you. And really that made it all worth it, because she did the same for me in June when I took a week off. And so, you know, and she deserves the peace, you know, so I was happy about that. And then when I got home on Friday, I got home at like 8 o'clock at night and got to my house, and my wife had a cousin from out of town and nieces and nephews and children running around my house. And we had our sons and their partner, and the house was full. And I walked into it and had no idea, and it was the best surprise. And we had supper, and we walked to get ice cream. You know, it was just wonderful, a wonderful end to a challenging week. So thank you.
I'm Mo, and I just haven't really been doing well, like mentally recently. So I don't know. I don't know when it's gonna get I guess better. So yeah, that's like this. That's my concern. Yeah.
Good morning, Sangha. Atano Nato here. I have a concern to share. After only a few years of marriage, my nephew's wife filed for divorce. They've been having some struggles for a little while. He's really heartbroken. And I just hope that they both, through this process, it's going to be a painful process for both of them. I hope they can both still maintain respect and, you know, not lash out at each other, go through this, I'll say, in a mature fashion as best you can through a divorce. But just sending him my heart, and hopefully he does well and gets through this. Thank you.
Anyone online?
Good morning. Yesterday evening, I went to see off a different friend whose roommate James was leaving soon. You may have heard of him, and he was having a sale. And James has a lot of great poetry books, and my girlfriend likes poetry, so she picked a bunch out and she tried to pay him for them. And he said, "No, that's fine. You're doing me a favor." And I smelled an opportunity because he already had the $20 bill in hand. So I said to James, "Can I take that broken old guitar then?" And he informed me that it's not broken and it has a reasonable value and $20 is sufficient. So I am going to think about James's beneficence while I restring it.
Let's take a few moments to keep these joys and concerns in our hearts. Okay, it's that time for August announcements. So every week, every Wednesday night, there's an online meditation group that's led by me and Kunga. Now that he's back, that's Wednesdays on Zoom from 6 to 6:45. The link is in the newsletter, or just email me. Let's see. There is a Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple board meeting. Anybody interested in watching or potentially joining the board? That's next weekend, Sunday, August 17th, 11:30 to 1 in the community room or Google Meet. It's televised. There is the five Buddhist precepts training that is starting September 7th, and it runs through the end of November. So that's a weekly thing where 8:30 clean the temple. Then at 9 a.m. there's a mini lecture before service, and then once every couple of weeks there is a class session after service. So, reading the description of this, the five Buddhist precepts embody the basic code of ethics undertaken by lay followers of Buddhism. Through intensive training, participants will focus on individual reflection, reading, and online journal submissions, memorization, and small groups discussion. Please email Ikisu for details. When I first joined the temple, that's the first class. I took the Intro to Meditation class that Ikisu just taught yesterday, I think. Then the precepts, which really give a strong rooting in Buddhist principles and really what it's all about, and really learning how to live by the principles and become really a full member of the Sangha at that point. So I found that really valuable. So hope to see you there. There is Buddhist recovery meetings on Mondays, 6:30 meditation, 7 o'clock meeting at the temple. Wednesdays, 6:30 at the Alano Club. Fridays, 10 o'clock meditation, 10:30 meeting at the temple or via Zoom. And today, I believe, is the Buddhist support group or mutual aid group led by Sunshin, and it happens at 11:30. 11:30, right after a short social hour. So, hope you participate in some of these, which are great. So, okay, close our service. We will be standing and reciting the closing gathas on page 6. For all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for all. Vast is the road of compassion, the formless field of benefaction, my way of Buddhist teachings to the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dark gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. Now, complete the service. And now we bow to each other. Thank you all for coming today. And enjoy the rest of the day.